Part 4. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Wo Yi Pian Hai. Chapter 31. Yeshi saw these comments and his mouth twitched. These people are really too mean. It just so happens that these people's ids are still very familiar, and each of them has followed from the first live broadcast room. Let's not talk about these various funny comments for now. Yeshi's attention is now on Lao Hu. Occasionally, he saw his phone light up again, and he knew that there must be countless people calling him at this time. And the scene is definitely much bigger than the last time. Yeshi didn't care whether the person who called him knew him or not, and simply turned off his phone. No one would bother him if he turned off the phone here, but Yeshi was thinking about what to do after he went out. He would talk about it after he went out. If it doesn't work, he can let the system reward him with a villa suitable for seclusion that no one can find. He thought about it, and directly used the system's permission to secretly pick up another new phone and connect to the system's Wi-Fi. Because of the news from the satellite, the entire scientific community is already boiling. And due to a special reason, Alegio, who first paid attention to Yeshi, was also in a state of panic. He was obsessed with dragons, and could even be said to worship them, which was the reason why the two met in the live broadcast room. Alegio was in pain at this time. Because, although there were many unreasonable places in the live broadcast of the white bone dragon pond, but these unreasonable places can always be explained by finding a way. It is much better than the sudden appearance of an antique bottle in the universe that is exactly the same as the bottle that Yeshi once held in his hand. Although this aspect also emphasizes the proof that dragons are real creatures in the world. But now, no one can break through that small narrow gap and steep slope. Even the battle-hardened special forces are helpless. Not to mention that Yeshi went to the desert governor later. There actually appeared in the desert, a huge monster that no one had ever seen before, with a body roughly estimated to be 400 or 500 meters long, a real monster, the sandworm. When they got the news, everyone was dumbfounded, and Alegio really felt that he had encountered a ghost. And because he had the deepest connection with Yeshi, all these troublesome matters were now handed over to him. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but want to curse out loud. One is doing live broadcast, and the other is watching live broadcast. This can also be said to be a deep connection. When Xuanhuan, this. He couldn't curse anymore. So he simply turned on the computer and watched the video. As a well-known academician, he was blatantly slacking off in a certain scientific research institute, which made people dare not look at him sideways. Watching again and again, or playing the period when Along appeared in a loop. Alegio looked at the Along in the dragon pool with extreme obsession in his eyes, which was like a snow essence. Except for him, everyone was busy. Because this matter was very tricky. Of course, the most tricky thing was not here. Jingzhou ancient city. Under the black magnetic mountain of Zaglama. The boundless ghost cave whirred the wind, like a ghost whispering. This terrifying scene like hell did not cause anyone to scream or be afraid, but everyone was full of smiles. It is because there is a live treasure here. Yeshi really thinks that Fatty is amazing. He can definitely make a lot of money by performing stand-up comedy alone. He made this suggestion to Fatty. And the other party agreed happily. Back to before. The reason why Yeshi threw a rope was that he planned to use the two ropes as a bridge and then step over it himself, which was also a leverage point. As a result, Fatty said, "Where did you get more than 100 meters of rope, brother?" Yeshi didn't want to answer, he just wanted to sow the other party's mouth. Should I tell them that this is a rope reinforced and extended by the system? It would be much better to send him directly to outer space and rely on the old antique he sent up. However, Fatty rejected his initiative to go over. It should be said that Lao Hu and the other three all refuted this plan. Among them, Swili Yang made a shocking statement. That is, she could feel that the ghost cave had an attraction to her, as if calling her to fall down. In a mysterious way, Xuanhuan felt that something terrible would happen if she stood in the air above the ghost cave. She couldn't explain why she felt this way, but she just felt it. So she persuaded Yeshi not to do it with a serious look. Yeshi didn't know about others, but it was certain that Xuanhuan had the blood of the ghost cave clan. In addition, Yeshi was indeed quite afraid of this legendary ancient god, so he rejected this method. The reason why Yeshi was so anxious to go over and take a look was actually for a deeper reason. Because Yeshi didn't see the stairs mentioned by Laohu below. His internal strength was extraordinary, far better than the black python that failed to pass the tribulation. In addition, just now, because he was uneasy, he used spices, and after feeling the divine treasure in his body, he further opened up the potential of the body universe. Because it was the superposition of two completely different systems, Yeshi couldn't figure out how powerful he was. But he felt that his eyesight was much better than that of Laohu. The problem was that he couldn't see anything clearly. It's normal to not be able to see clearly, because underneath the ghost cave is the corpse of an ancient god. Even if he has been dead for hundreds of millions of years, the ancient god's body has rotted and his eyes have been taken away, it will naturally block the sight of human beings. He still has his own consciousness, waiting for the universe to restart and be reborn. What a terrifying ancient god! But what's even more terrifying now is, Yeshi possesses two special cultivation methods, one is from martial arts to immortality, and the other is to unlock the gene lock hidden in the human body. Science and cultivation, both ways of looking at the ghost cave together. I feel like my eyes are blind and I can't see anything clearly. But Laohu said. Did he see the stone stairs used by previous generations to build them? The wind blows by. The fat man suddenly felt a little cold all over his body. Then he saw Yeshi leisurely dazing there, and his whole body suddenly became energetic. And when the strange wind blows, a sound that only Yeshi can hear goes along with the wind. There is a ghost. Yeshi sighed. Although he thought this way in his heart, Yeshi did not tell anyone this idea. In fact, as long as an ancient god who has been dead for hundreds of millions or billions of years does not crawl out to confront him, it doesn't matter who is playing tricks in this ghost cave. He doesn't even care. Absolute strength gave him absolute confidence. Except that Laohu in front of him didn't know what was going on and he was quite worried. The news that just came from space is so shocking. Yes, after Yeshi's systematic explanation, he did know that the five-color altar has the ability to teleport. But this is still very different from personal experience. Plus, this battle is really too big. Yeshi has already cultivated, and he will probably become an immortal in the future. But science and immortality are originally two branches of the same road. Specifically, you can see your own system rewards and rewards for exploring mysterious places. All in all, Yeshi had great admiration for the big boss who airborne into his live broadcast room. When he was studying physics, he would be mentioned in all textbooks. The simplicity and universality of physics fascinates me deeply. Even if we start from the whole physics, this expert is definitely a figure who can enter the top 10. To have such an evaluation in a subject that shines like the stars of mankind is really beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. It is so powerful. Yeshi has sincere respect for scientists who delve into the truth of the world and seek to understand the essence of things. However, such an epic master actually came to his live broadcast room. Yeshi is still a little confused now. However, Laohu's situation in front of him was what he needed to pay more attention to. Shui Liang mentioned not to hang on the ghost cave, Yeshi remembered it in his heart. But he didn't have any other options. When he left the villa where he lived, he did not leave the precious and unimaginable chi dragon eggs where he lived. But take it with you. On the way to the desert, I had a hard time talking to the system and asked for a high-tech egg incubator. It's of no other use. However, if the along eggs are in this egg incubator, as long as they are fed energy on time, their growth will not stop even if they are placed in the system space. Yes. Yes, she can ride a dragon. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Hai. Chapter 32. Yes, she took a moment to look at a special big egg incubator, in the system space, the small egg wrapped inside. The along egg has been broken. A silver-white little dragon lies on its side with its eyes closed on the broken eggshell. Its whole body is like flawless crystal forging, and each scale is like the top artwork, magnificent and not like a human creation. Its body unconsciously stretches out, rejuvenated, enjoying the joy of soaking in the energy liquid. Yashi is now extremely heartbroken when he sees the energy pool of this egg. Because of this, he also prepaid his reward in advance, just barely satisfying the energy needed by the along egg. Looking at the little guy in front of him, Yashi suddenly found that his idea of riding a dragon was too inhumane. So without anyone knowing, Yashi rejected his idea. Why does brother Yes stand there motionless? Did he discover another big secret? Yes, I couldn't help but tremble in my heart when I saw Lao Yes' action. It must be something beyond our expectations. Am I the only one who is still curious about how this whole piece of stone slab floated up out of thin air? This is not scientific, my family. Kinlibulixing, talking about science in Yeshen's live broadcast room. What kind of performance art enthusiasts? Suggested rebuttal. Watch the moment when Brother Ye first live broadcast along appeared. Feeling the atmosphere suddenly quiet, Shui Liang's voice came over. Brother, is there any other way? It was obviously because Lao Hu suddenly became quiet, which made them a little worried. Yashi came back to his senses, shook his head when he heard this, and then said, "Don't worry, Lao Hu will be fine. Let's do this, I'll go down and take a look, you all stay here and don't move. Then, the ghost cave is special, and we don't know what the situation is on the other side. If Lao Hu talks to you, you'd better pay attention." He didn't say it clearly, but the two people who heard it noticed it. The two people looked unclear, but they didn't continue to ask why he said that. Yashi also felt that he had to figure out what happened here, so he was too lazy to pretend to get a completely unnecessary safety rope. Instead, he just flipped down and walked down the mountain alone. My brother Yet is going to go down the ghost cave alone again, right? Why do I feel that in such a scary place, Lao Yet is just like going to the toilet, coming and going as he pleases? What a magical metaphor. I still want to watch the live broadcast carefully, don't ruin the atmosphere of our live broadcast room. Have you noticed that Lao Yet's movements are much slower, and he no longer rushes out like a landslide before? Landslide. This time, Brother Ye didn't get a safety rope, it feels so dangerous. Yeshen, is there a possibility that the safety rope is not for me? Don't you see, when old Ye used the safety rope, there is reason to suspect that he was deliberately playing tricks on us. Hey, when did the whip on old Ye's waist appear? I've never seen it before, it's pretty good looking. Did you see the snake demon close his eyes and scream when he lifted the coffin to attack old Hu? It seems that this whip was taken out by Brother Ye at that time. Family members, I'm a little scared. Why do I always feel that there is something watching me in this ghost cave when I just watch a live broadcast? Especially when Yeshen keeps going down, I feel that my body is numb. It's a psychological effect. If you can't stand it, you can watch it from a distance. For example, I can watch Brother Yes live broadcast directly on a super large screen, and now I am dozens of miles away. The drone followed Yeshi closely and flew beside him. Some drones that were dragged down by the ghost cave have been strengthened and upgraded by the system, and now they are much better. At least there is no problem in maintaining basic live broadcasts. But the lower he went, Yeshi frowned more and more. He waved at the camera. Can you still see the live broadcast clearly now? Is there anything special? A barrage of responses. No, what's wrong with brother Ye, why did you suddenly say that? The netizen who said that there was something watching him in the ghost cave posted a barrage. I felt it, brother Ye, I felt that you seemed to be covered with a layer of fog, and there seemed to be something in the ghost cave. Don't dare to say this, sister, don't scare me. I finally had a moment of heart stopping when watching Lao Ye's live broadcast, and when you said this, my heart started beating wildly again. Hello, people will die if their hearts don't stop. Lao Ye seems to have really noticed something, and I suddenly started to panic. Yes, she specially asked someone to make an iron rod with system reinforcement, and directly inserted it into the body of the black magnetic mountain. He stood up and sat on the iron rod, then let the camera zoom in. The air here is not right. Yes, she looked at the camera and waved his hand casually in the air. You can see that I am waving my hand in the air at the speed of a normal person, which is much slower. I can clearly feel that the density of the air here is completely different from that above. I calculated that from the cliff to here, I should have descended about 100 meters, but I didn't expect this to happen. It seems that this ghost cave is indeed unusual. Yes, she thought about it and looked at the inquiries in the live broadcast room. Just dig out a small piece of stone from the mountain wall and throw it up. Everyone stared at Yeshi's scene with wide eyes, not understanding what he was doing. Unexpectedly, Yeshi's clear young voice came out, and the strange scene in front of him also appeared in the live broadcast room. Look, everyone, the speed of the falling stones has begun to slow down. Everything in front of you appears clearly in front of everyone. It took 1 second for the stone to fall from 50 meters to 100 meters, and then it took 10 seconds to fall from 100 meters to 110 meters. My dear brother Newton, can you take care of this place? Outrageous, why did your mother open the door for me and welcome me in? Because it's so outrageous. My mind went out temporarily. I want to ask, isn't the speed of falling objects from high altitude getting faster and faster? Why is there a sudden deceleration here? My physics teacher patted my brain and told me, F equals ma, F equals ma. Why did the acceleration change to deceleration when I arrived at Lao Ye? Calling the boss of ALA country. Although, since I saw Lao Ye's live broadcast, my outlook on life, worldview, and values have often been impacted, but it is unique to the extent that it has impacted me to this extent. Lao Ye opens the door, it's outrageous that I am your son. As we all know, Newton had a younger brother named Niobe. Niobe could take care of things that Newton could handle. Niobe could also take care of things that Newton couldn't. Yes, she clearly felt that the resistance to his downward movement was increasing. It was an indescribable change. Someone even mentioned in the barrage that someone was watching in the ghost cave. Yes, she also felt it. It seems that the secret of the ghost cave has just begun to appear a little bit. Yeshi's voice sounded. Everyone should still remember what I said. The Ghost Cave clan came out of the Ghost Cave and then established the Jingzhou ancient kingdom. It is rumored that Queen Jingzhou has divine eyes. It is because she has the bloodline of the Ghost Cave clan that she awakened her divine power. The leaves slowly fall. He was very cautious this time. Every 10 meters, use internal force to carve out a fulcrum in the stone wall. A barrage of discussions. Blogway is the Big I platform, and this tag has triggered real-time discussions among millions of people. It can't be refreshed at all. In the ghost cave, Yeshi silently calculated the distance down. When he fell about 150 meters, he stopped suddenly. Because he had already seen something not far below, extremely prominent in the darkness. A light. Oh my God! Unexpectedly, this scene actually appeared in the live broadcast room. I used another computer to pull back the picture strip, and sure enough I saw someone mention that there was a light under the ghost cave. It turns out that what emits light is actually such a big thing, no wonder there is a faint glow when viewed from above. The biological man is ecstatic, with a elang, a sandworm, a snake man, plus this giant flower in front of him, he is instantly happy, birth, and smiles, without, face, can, and, love. Yeshi stared blankly at the huge flower in the center. There is also a corner of the Kunlun sacred tree that can be glimpsed. The muttering voice reached everyone's ears. This is the legendary one. Corpse-scented konjac. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Pianhai. Chapter 33. When Yeshi's clear and bright voice floated in the ghost cave, and he read out the 4 words corpse-scented konjac that puzzled everyone. The already bloated live broadcast room was instantly pulled to its maximum horsepower because of this wonder in front of it, and the black technology of the system almost overturned. And Yeshi's ears kept ringing, like a symphony. Ding, congratulations to the host, the cumulative number of viewers of the live broadcast room has exceeded 1 billion, and the global live broadcast room is open, anytime, anywhere, every moment, synchronized live broadcast. Reward Advanced Energy Bottle X20, Intermediate Energy Bottle X40, Planetary Gene Nutrient Solution X30. Ding. Then, because there were too many people in Yeshi's live broadcast room in real time, the few hair of the programmers of Yindu fell out. According to relevant people, some people heard several shrill screams that did not sound like humans outside the Yindu headquarters, and at the same time, a large amount of hair growth water was transported here. At a certain headquarters, several programmers with haggard faces, unshaven beards, and dark circles under their eyes, who looked like national treasures, had lost all hope in life. Although they were only in their 20s and looked already in their 40s or 50s, they didn't care. The only thing they cared about now was Yeshi's live broadcast room. One of the programmers who looked the oldest howled to the sky. How could I run into such a great god in live broadcasting? He is simply a beast. From the beginning of his live broadcast to now, no matter how we strengthen the backend server, it will be overwhelmed in an instant. Why are there so many people? Don't they want to go to work? Is it possible that we are the only ones who can't slack off at work? One of the people in plaid clothes said something that made people cry. Another person shouted in anger, the problem is that no matter how many people come, they can't crash his live broadcast room, they can only crash our server. Woo woo woo, what a thief he is. Just when the 2 people finally rested for 3 seconds to complain, they heard the youngest bald programmer look like something was wrong. It's bad, boss, Tactic Abroad has collapsed again, I can't pull it back. What about the overseas programmers, are they just watching? The Mediterranean teenager who was called the boss pointed to the ground where a dozen pale-faced men were lying and said, there, they didn't pay attention to the overseas servers, they were just about to die suddenly. Yeshi didn't know that he not only drove biologists and physicists crazy, but the programmers were indirectly tortured by him and wanted to jump off the rooftop. Although the name of the corpse-scented konjac is terrifying, it is like the legendary hell-eating plant. But in fact, this konjac is very, very, very beautiful, with light blue petals emitting fluorescence. Although it is a little dreamy, it is extremely real, so real that it seems to bloom in front of everyone. There is a strange magic that attracts people's attention. The dark corner of the ghost cave is illuminated by the faint light emitted by the corpse-scented konjac. Looking down with Yeshi's eyesight, he can see that if he goes down, about 30 meters further down, it is the place where the coffin of the Queen of Jingju is placed. A section of Kunlun's sacred tree hangs alone in the ghost cave, and the queen lies in it and sleeps for 2,000 years. It's so beautiful, I didn't expect that there would be such a beautiful thing in the ghost cave. I suddenly want to check in the same scenery. What, the last person who checked in with Yejun is still lying in the ICU ward. If he really can't wait to die, I'll do it. How can such a flower grow in such a dark place, without even light or rain? How can it survive? This flower is so humming big from where I am, it seems that the diameter of the giant flower is over 3 meters, the 1 meter diameter typhoon is just a little brother in front of it. Corpse arum, I am called corpse arum, don't call me a giant flower, I have a scientific name. Are the two guys above allergic to romance? Why did a good person open his mouth? This flower gives me a dreamy feeling, like a legendary fairy flower, but it blooms in a ghost cave like hell. Sister, is there a possibility that this flower is called a magic flower, taro? Then is there another possibility that it is not a flower, but actually a big taro? Am I the only one who is curious about how old Ye knows the scientific name of this big taro? The barrage was full of speculation and wailing, and all kinds of outrageous barrages were posted. He sorted out his mood a little and continued the live broadcast. The drone camera zoomed in so that everyone could see clearly. Yashi smiled and explained. This strange flower, the corpse arum, only appears in the western regions, and it is short-lived. In the records of the western regions, it is called the ancient demon flower. Everyone can feel the horror of this flower from this name. If I hadn't looked up some information to explore the secrets of the Jingzhou ancient city this time, I probably wouldn't have known that this was the legendary ancient demon flower. But I didn't expect that I would encounter such a thing in this place. Yashi said this without blushing, causing an uproar in the barrage. Old Ye, you are bullying us because we are not well educated and are going to deceive us to death, right? Tell me where you found the literature, and I will book a plane to look for it now. People just say that, we just listen to that, what old Ye said has a scientific basis, and there are also documents. Let's do this, brother Ye. First tell us about the relevant documents of the five-colored altar, and we will reluctantly admit that you know this knowledge from reading books. The Jingzhou ancient city has not been discovered at all, and there are only 2 historical records in history books. Old Ye, I beg you, I am studying the history of Jingzhou Kingdom, and now I am just short of being put in a sack and beaten. They ask me why a small live broadcast knows everything, but I, who specializes in Jingzhou culture research, know nothing. My father called me 10 times and scolded me, and now he rushed over with my mother. It's so funny, our department is in chaos because of Yeshen's live broadcast room. I happened to be in school and just saw the old professor who studies Western region culture being chased and beaten, being chased and asked questions. Old Ye, good guy, you have understood everything, right? Yeshen, whether you believe it or not, I believe it anyway. Yeshi looked at the barrage in the live broadcast room, and he was not embarrassed at all, really. He just cleared his throat and continued to popularize science. I wonder if you have noticed that there is a wooden coffin next to this corpse-scented konjac. Haven't you always been curious about where the Queen of Jingzhou, who is said to have magical eyes, is buried? She is buried next to the corpse-scented konjac. Yeshen's eyesight is really good, he has a clairvoyance, I can barely see it after magnifying it many times. So why did the Queen of Jingzhou plant the corpse-scented konjac next to her coffin? Is there a special reason? Family members, have you all forgotten that there are 3 people on it, especially Lao Hu, who was mixed with the red-haired old monster? He died miserably. 3 seconds of silence for Lao Hu. So why is it that the wooden coffin will not rot, or is the effect of the corpse-scented konjac to prevent the coffin from rotting? No, Lao Ye said that the coffin below was the Queen of Jingzhou. I suddenly felt a little scared. That is, when we were in the underground ancient temple, the statue of the Queen of Jingzhou with closed eyes opened its eyes. Save me, the Queen is not really dead, right? The people above are afraid that we will find the live broadcast unexciting, so they remind us that this is actually a live broadcast from the underworld, right? Yeshi saw all kinds of comments, especially when he talked about the statue of the Queen of Jingzhou with her eyes open. He thought for a moment, and then comforted. Don't worry, even if the Queen of Jingzhou is resurrected. Yeshi paused, causing all netizens to urge him, expecting him to comfort themselves. Then he heard Yeshi continue to say. You have seen it before, you should be used to it, right? This is a sudden turn of events, worthy of being brother. Yeah, I thought he would say it's okay, I will protect you, woo woo woo. Although I have always known that Lao Ye is not a human, I am still very sad when he doesn't speak human language. Ah, why do we have to get used to the coffin resurrection? From now on, lifting your skull can be changed to lifting your coffin lid. Thank you Lao Ye for your comfort, but I just want to ask, how did the promised adventure live broadcast become a resurrection live broadcast? Because the ancient tomb is empty, Lao Ye is in the world. From now on, when the big Zongzi comes to our Lao Ye live studio, it's like returning home, warm JPG. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Wo Yu Pian Hai. Chapter 34. Yes, she looked at the barrage in the live broadcast room and really felt the enthusiasm, fear, of these netizens. But I didn't continue to interact with them. After all, there were several big guys here. He was having a headache whether he should go down first to see what this exquisite queen looked like, or whether he should go up now to see Lao Hu and the others. Unexpectedly, at this time, a faint voice came from above, and I could barely hear what seemed to be a fat man roaring at the top of his lungs. Unfortunately, the effect of swallowing sounds in the ghost cave is too strong. Except for feeling the full emotion above, yes, she didn't hear anything else clearly. Le, only a fat man can make Lao Ye look like this every time. It was the first time I saw Yeshen looking so confused, so I just replied, "What's the horse is gone." So, what did Fatty shout? When I hear it, I feel like, Abba, Abba, Abba. Holy shit, Abba, Abba, something must have happened above. To be honest, I am really worried about Lao Hu who is alone with Hung Mao. It's so pitiful. Although he couldn't hear what the fat man said clearly, yes, she looked a little helpless. He was originally planning to explore the corpse-scented Konjac by himself first, but now that he was done, he could go straight up. However, he also made a conscious decision, which was to place a live broadcast drone here. When going up, the 4 sparing points that were dug out were dug deeper. Nails were also driven here, and corresponding ropes were left at each section. Netizens who watched his live broadcast sighed. Lao Ye is one person who can compare to an engineering team. He can even dig stone steps with one hand, which is awesome. Popeye, this giant body is probably even more exaggerated than Grandpa Yu, who lifted 300 kilograms with one hand in history. I saw a Chinese proverb here for the first time: to open a road when encountering mountains and build a bridge when encountering water. Yeshen deserves to be a Chinese. Although Lao Ye didn't come down like a mudslide this time, he went up like a dragon sucking water. Strange man. What a magical metaphor. It's really too humiliating for you to watch the live broadcast. You should become a Chinese teacher. Chinese teacher, first of all, I didn't offend anyone. Secondly, I didn't offend anyone. Finally, I really didn't offend anyone. Because of the foundation laid previously, it was much easier for Yeshi to go up than to come down. He quickly climbed up again. As soon as I got closer, I heard several extremely sad screams, which made everyone who heard them feel numb. Damn, what happened to Fatty? Even the pigs slaughtered during the Chinese New Year are not so miserable. Yeshi also frowned, sensing something from the fat man's almost deformed voice. Brother. Help. Lao Hu is crazy. Very good. Yeshi, who was originally planning to think about it, was woken up by the explosion in an instant. I even began to worry that the ancient gods underground in the ghost cave would be awakened by the fat man's voice. Because this sound is so penetrating. Really, ghosts are not as scary as this fat man. Yeshi held the rope that was brought all the way up in his hand, suddenly flipped in the air, and landed directly on the second platform. Then he looked up, his face full of astonishment. At this time, the expressions of everyone watching the live broadcast room are like this. Of course Yeshi was no exception, and even reacted more strongly. 1,000 miles away, let me ask briefly, why did Lao Hu just disappear for half an hour and come back like this? Kinglu scholar, let me ask you deeply, Lao Hu, did you go back 2,000 years ago and have a genetic surgery? How did he change from a human to a snake? Emperor Qiao Tian, what kind of snake man? No, please respectfully call Lao Hu Medusa. Yeshi. He never thought that just because he didn't pull Lao Hu back in time, Lao Hu would change completely. The fat man and Lao Hu were 3 or 4 meters away from each other. The hairs on their bodies were standing on end. They were holding a military shovel in their hands and closed their eyes with fear on their faces. The ordnance shovel has turned into stone. The same goes for Swili Yang. She closed her eyes tightly, holding the family heirloom in her hand, and the black cloth wrapped outside turned into stone. At the moment when Yeshiluo fell, Swili Yang heard a small voice, his expression was happy, and he shouted quickly. Brother, is it you? Are you back? Look what happened to Lao Hu, why his hair turned into little snakes. By the way, Shui Liang's breathing suddenly became rapid, don't look at Lao Hu with your eyes open, otherwise he will be petrified. Yeshi, He had already looked at Lao Hu a few times, but it seemed that Lao Hu was hurt by the attitude of Fatty and Swili Yang, so he didn't look in his direction. It was because of Shui Liang's voice reminder that Lao Hu looked at Yeshi with a confused look on his face and said, Brother, what happened to Fatty and the others? Why did they treat me like this? Is there really something wrong with me? Brother, you know better. Look what's wrong with me. Lao Hu was originally facing Yeshi, but now he slowly turned to look at Yeshi with a blank look on his face. But paired with the snake hair on his head, it looks very scary. There was no wind in the ghost cave, but every strand of Lao Hu's hair was floating up, and he grinned and spit out snake letters. Countless hissing sounds sounded. In addition, there were no lights over there and it was relatively dark. This moment was even more terrifying than a horror movie. Holy shit, 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 this scene will be a lifelong shadow for me from now on. Lao Hu, what do you think? You still think that we didn't know enough when we watched Brother Yes live broadcast? Why did you perform a real male version of Medusa for us? It's no good, I got goosebumps all at once. Qiao Tiandi, that's what I'm saying, it's really Medusa. How can it have the function of petrification? What on earth has Lao Hu been going through? I'm paralyzed. I looked fine from the side just now, but when I look at it from the front, I feel like I'm going to lose 100 years of my life. I'm dead. No, Lao Ye, why are you still staring at her? Didn't you hear her say she would be petrified? I don't understand, I really don't understand. Lao Ye, when you step on the horse, you have stabbed the snake's nest, right? You can't get past the snake, right? Why did Lao Hu's thick hair turn into a nest of little snakes? It's so scary. Yeshi glanced at the scene in front of him, and then at the barrage in the live broadcast room. For a moment, I didn't even feel that the scalp-numbing thing in front of me was disgusting, but instead found it funny. Lao Ye, why are you so stubborn? Close your eyes. Brother Ye, God Ye, I know you are fierce, but now is not the time for you to show your bravery. We have to survive and grow. I can't stand it anymore. Lao Ye, please stop being so aggressive. Petrification will really kill people. Let me wipe it. Look at the gravel on the ground, it seems to be the rope that Lao Ye threw over. There is also a searchlight that has been petrified. Help, 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 Lao Ye. At the moment when countless people are worried, going crazy, panic, and frightened, Yeshi's eyes had already met those of Lao Hu. A strange power seemed to burst out from the opponent's hair, snakes, and eyes. A live broadcast drone that was still in front of Yeshi suddenly turned into a stone, making everyone feel chilled. Something bad has happened. Lao Ye is in trouble. What should I do? A machine used for live broadcast has been petrified. What happened? This is too dangerous. Why does this legendary creature really exist in the world? Netizens were anxious before the live broadcast. One person even stood up suddenly in a hurry, and then shouted anxiously at the computer screen. Brother, 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 yeah, God, yeah, you should close your eyes. In addition to him, there are countless people doing the same actions as him. Some people even fell helplessly to the ground. Overseas netizens even cried loudly, feeling that this legendary explorer was about to turn into a stone statue. For a while, tears fell down. As for Yeshi, he still didn't know that he had already sentenced him to death in the hearts of hundreds of millions of netizens. He just looked at Lao Hu, who had a head full of little snakes, holding his forehead and looking into each other's eyes, feeling a little helpless. I knew something would happen, but you don't have to be so scary, old Hu. Fat Man and Swilly Yang were almost scared to death by you. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Wo Yu Pian Hai. Chapter 35. There was even a smile in Yeshi's tone, which was completely inconsistent with the current tense atmosphere, which made some people who were still watching the live broadcast a little surprised. What the hell is this kid doing? Is there really such a monster from myths and legends in this world? The live broadcast room here is so lively, and the man with the IDA Aleguo who is fishing in the research institute will naturally not fail to notice. It should be said that this live broadcast room is not closed. He has always been a god of fishing. However, his behavior at this time was different from other netizens. Because I was engaged in a related major, I naturally felt that there was something very fishy in it, so I started talking to myself. Unexpectedly, the sweaty student beside him suddenly took a moment to speak, then pointed to another computer playing the along video, and said, "Teacher, myth, monster. Middle-aged man." He frowned. "Xiaotang, right." The student named Xiaotang concentrated his attention, subconsciously gasped, rubbed oil on the soles of his feet, and fled, shouting, "Teacher, there are more materials over there for me to sort out, I'm leaving first." Aleguo shook his head and ignored the students running away. Instead, he looked at the scene in the live broadcast room and sighed. It would be great if he could be sent to the laboratory for dissection. The people who heard this thought that the academician was talking about the male version of Medusa, but they followed the other person's eyes and saw. It was Yeshi who dared to admit that this big shot wanted to dissect him, so he was so frightened that he immediately looked away. Yeshi still didn't know why someone wanted to dissect him, but looked at Lao Hu who had little snakes on his head in front of him and clicked his tongue twice in disgust. Seeing everything turned into stone, even Yeshi's arm gradually turned to stone, making some people hold their breath and not dare to look any further. However, many people felt that something was wrong. After all, Brother Yes live broadcast room is famous for its professionalism, no matter what is weird or unheard of. He can tell the origins and secrets contained in it. So, there's no reason to be so stupid this time. He was so stupid that everyone could see the crisis, but only he could not. Is this possible? Impossible. Yeshi looked at his petrified arm, raised his hand and waved it with interest, then turned his head and glanced at the live broadcast room, and laughed. "Damn it, is Lao Yes smile mocking us?" I cried so much that tears and runny nose came out. I originally thought that Lao Ye would turn into a stone statue, but I didn't expect that half of his body had already turned into a stone statue, but how could he still move? Lao Ye, you didn't see how miserable everyone was crying before they were crying and howling on various platforms. I almost burned paper for you. It made me laugh. So we are being acted out again this time. Golden Mouse, please remove the we. What does again mean? Are there any of you who post barrages like this? So, brother Ye, can you tell us quickly what's going on in front of us? Yeshi looked at the curious barrage of these people, shrugged his shoulders, and then said something special. Guess. The anger is igniting. This is the professionalism of adventure anchors, right? Let us guess at the critical moment, right? So, why? Screaming, twisting, dark crawling, darkly squirming, rolling, violent crawling, rushing over, shaking Lao Ye's shoulders, and yelling in his ears, tell me, tell us, tell me. Is it an illusion? Can an illusion affect so many people at the same time? Is this illusion too awesome? That is, will there be a magic weapon like the one in the novel? Yes, she was very pleased to see the barrage having a heated, swearing, and happy, swearing, discussion. Then he asked Fatty and the others to open their eyes and said that they would not turn into stone statues at all. As a result, when the fat man opened his eyes, he saw a living stone statue standing in front of him. His eyes rolled up and he almost fainted from the shock. He couldn't help but retreat crazily. What kind of monsters and monsters? Leave quickly, otherwise don't blame my fat man for being rude. I'm laughing so hard, Lao Ye is really hurting me this time. I have saved this scene forever from now on. There will be a great general in the emoticon world. The fat man will definitely thank me for recording his green years like this. As we all know, if people are scared, they will die. When I opened my eyes and saw a stone man standing in front of us, I was also scared. What kind of devil on earth? Indeed, now I see Lao Ye talking like a pile of stones. It's so scary. Yes, she looked at Fatty's performance with black lines on his head. On the other hand, Shui Liang was a little surprised at first, but she quickly adapted to it. In the end, there were two stone men surrounding the screaming fat man, and they finally convinced each other. Then they turned into three free-moving stone men. So in the end, what appeared on everyone's screen was three stone men whispering and discussing things. Sitting on the other side was Hujisa, whose hair was covered with little snakes. Just ask where you can see such a scene. Just ask which live broadcast room has this novelty. Shock. A well-known anchor showed his prototype during a live broadcast, and it turned out to be a stone man. Surprise, the Shiren anchor actually has two gangs, both Shiren. The reappearance of the stone people in the world, is it the loss of human nature or the distortion of morality? That's true. After Yeshi talked with Lao Hu and Fatty, he also knew exactly what Lao Hu had encountered, and was once again sure. He glanced at Lao Hu, and then explained to the live camera. Remember the corpse-scented konjac we saw? That is a huge magic flower with a diameter of more than 3 meters. The place where Lao Hu went, which is the center of the ghost cave, is very close to the magic flower. Lao Hu frowned. Others also heard it inexplicably. But Yeshi continued to say. Corpse-scented konjac has two very terrifying effects. Didn't someone ask me before why this kind of magic flower was planted on Queen Jingju's coffin? He glanced at the live broadcast room and saw a lot of urging, so he continued. Because corpse-scented konjac can keep the corpse from rotting, and it can also make the corpse emit fragrance. Of course, this magic flower is not called a magic flower because of this effect. It is mentioned in the records of the ancient western regions. There are evil spirits in corpse-scented konjac. Once they grow up, living people can no longer approach them. They have the ability to create illusions and confuse people's hearts. Yeshi's voice stopped, and then he reached out and took off a small flower stem on Lao Hu's head. The three stone figures in front of him suddenly disappeared, and the little snake on old Hu's head disappeared completely. This magical scene is eye-catching. Lao Hu's eyes widened. This. Yeshi never took this crude illusion seriously from the beginning. He clearly saw that there was nothing strange about Lao Hu, only the flowers on his head were shimmering. And after controlling himself to enter the illusion, he saw the picture that everyone saw. Corpse-scented konjac is so scary, oh my god, but why can he confuse even the camera? I don't understand. If it's an illusion, what we see should be real. The illusion is false. The corpse-scented konjac created an illusion for Lao Hu and the others, making Fatty and the others think that Lao Hu stared at someone and turned to stone, but we are thousands of miles away, why would we be affected? Aleguo, because this illusion does not affect people and does not change the surrounding environment. Instead, it acts directly on the environment to make people think they have seen the devil. Thanks for the popular science, I understand, so it's not an illusion of the human heart, but an illusion of the environment. I'm numb, it's amazing. I suddenly thought of something that is very scary when I think about it. This small piece of corpse-scented konjac can change the perception of so many people in such a big place. Could it be that the ghost cave does not exist at all, but that huge corpse-scented konjac a manufactured illusion? There is another possibility that a larger corpse-scented konjac plant created this small corpse-scented konjac as an illusion. As for the Matryoshka dolls, why don't you just say that our world is a corpse-scented konjac? The netizen who posted this barrage was originally just trying to criticize those people who are thinking too much. But after sending it, I suddenly felt something was wrong. Others who saw this barrage also felt something was wrong. Oops, why do I feel that if the world were a corpse-scented konjac plant, it would probably be real? You guys are obsessed. How big is that one? The whole blue star. Yeshi. Fatty, Lao Hu, and Swili Yang had also been watching the barrage in the live broadcast room, and their expressions changed at this time. Yeshi couldn't help but interrupt when he saw the increasingly outrageous speculations. You are exaggerating. Even I can see through the effects of corpse-scented konjac. How do you still expect it to create a world without errors? Don't think that the world is a large corpse-scented konjac, because it's impossible to be a ghost cave alone. Yeshi's voice was very clear, he raised his eyebrows, and there was something familiar to netizens in his tone. Compared to the big guy under the ghost cave, it's just a corpse-scented konjac. It's the difference between a small loach and an ancient kunpeng. The author himself looked like this after seeing the bookshelf ratio, rightward arrow, plus plus, rightward arrow, t. Handsome and charming readers, I hope you can click your noble little fingers and add this book to your bookshelf, so that the bookshelf comparison will not be so bleak. Hey, there are 10 people who have followed the latest chapter, but only 2.5 people have added it to the bookshelf. Then, if you reward more and urge more, there will be more updates. Let's rush together. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Wo Yi Pian Hai. Chapter 36. Loach. Kunpeng. Baby, did you use the wrong adjective? When I thought Brother Yes live broadcast had reached its limit, he slapped me in the face with a backhand, and a clear voice sounded, I must say in a heavy tone, his grandma's ancestor, let no one live anymore. It's our fault that we are too young and haven't seen clearly the nature of Lao Yes perversion. How could he tell us this cruel thing with such a smile? Corpse sent konjac, after all, I made the wrong payment. I thought she was MRS Niu before, but now I think she is Xiao Tian Tian. I really thought we had peeked into the ultimate secret of Jingzhou ancient city. Who knew it was just an appetizer, right? What about Loach and Kunpeng, Lao Ye, just be a human being? Impossible, absolutely impossible. There was a barrage of wailing, and even Aleguo, who was thinking about the corpse-scented konjac with great interest, froze for a moment. Especially when he saw such an uncomfortable smile on Yeshi's face, he immediately didn't even want to touch fish. The research laboratory he currently belongs to is a kind of supernatural research, so he was transferred here urgently. My original dream was to wait for death, win a Fields Medal, and look for dragons. I feel like this is what life is like already. Unexpectedly, Yeshi's live broadcast room aroused his long-lost enthusiasm, and now that he was so stimulated, his fighting spirit was even more ignited. Okay, let me see what you kid is doing. He stood up suddenly. For a moment, everyone who was doing their work stopped and looked at him together. Apparently he was shocked by this salted fish god. Likewise, it is also because of the title of this top academician. Yeshi didn't know that he unintentionally wanted to torment the netizens, but ended up tossing the prehistoric predators. In fact, after what he said, not only the netizens were surprised, but also the three people accompanying him had different expressions. Among them, Fatty's pupils were shaking, Lao Hu was deep in thought, and Shui Liang's expression changed drastically and his face turned pale. Yeshi withdrew his gaze. He looked at a small piece of corpse-scented konjac in his hand and smashed it into pieces with a strong force in his hand. The biologists squatting in front of the live broadcast were heartbroken. Especially the old scholars who were looking for sandworms in the desert almost fainted from Yeshi's actions. Among them, the old biologist with the most violent expression who was confronting the man in military uniform had red eyes. He took 3 steps at a time, rushed over, and snatched the gun of the guard standing next to him. Of course I can't take it away. But it also frightened the guards and others so much that they thought something had happened. The man leading this army came here again. He really had a headache, but when facing these biologists, he could only relax his tone and use gentle questions. What's wrong? Did you make any new discoveries? Good guy, it's a good thing no one asked. When I asked, several old men almost jumped up in anger. They all pointed at Yeshi, who showed his white teeth and smiled brightly in the live broadcast room. Give me a machine gun and I'm going to kill this kid. What a waste, how can there be such people in this world? So irritating. He actually completely destroyed that piece of corpse-scented konjac. This is our research material, our biological foundation, mine. The man frowned and realized that the matter was not simple. The guard next to him was also a little surprised. The 2 men in military uniforms looked at each other, and then their eyes were, how come it becomes yours? But there is no other way, I still have to appease him. Then, in the desert, countless scolding voices suddenly sounded. These scolding voices did not affect Yeshi at all, and even made him not even sneeze. He just listened quietly to Shui Liang telling some stories about her ancestors. Before speaking, Yeshi specifically asked if it was necessary to close the live broadcast room, although Shui Liang said it was not necessary. But Yeshi still automatically, referring to the system, silenced all the places involving people. Hey, Lao Ye said before that the first people in Jingzhou Kingdom came from the Ghost Cave and were called the Ghost Cave tribe. I didn't believe it, I didn't expect it. This is such a coincidence. It is probably not a coincidence. If Sui Yang was not a member of the Guidong tribe, he would not come all the way to the desert to eat sand. Finally I know why Brother Ye dug up Old Hu from the desert. It turns out it was for this reason. Then, Sui Yang and Queen Jingzhou are related? Good guy. 2,000 years have passed since we were separated by a second generation, right? The barrage mentioned everything, and some people also mentioned why Yeshi's famous black Fan Mengzhan brother was missing. Among them, 1,000 miles away says Brother Menza is going into space. Brother Menzhang just doesn't believe in evil and doesn't believe that Yeshen really used the stone to transport the bottle into the universe. Yeshi discussed with Shui Liang about the Ghost Cave clan. She didn't want to hide it, but told all her inexplicable feelings about the Ghost Cave. So, the attraction that Sydney feels is that something at the bottom of the Ghost Cave is calling her. Lao Hu's expression was very serious, and the fat man stopped making jokes. Before changing, I can say, what are you afraid of? Fatty is standing in front of you. But now, he is really scared. Who wouldn't be frightened when seeing a person with a head full of little snakes? This is just a small piece of corpse-scented konjac. And what I heard from the little brother is that the entire corpse-scented konjac plant is not as good as a single hair of the big guy below. This made Fatty, a firm believer in materialism, a little unable to bear it. But when he saw the worried faces of Lao Hu and Shui Liang, he gritted his teeth and comforted them. Lao Hu, Staff Yang, don't be afraid, we still have some better gangsters there. The fat man's mouth was immediately covered, and Old Hu smiled. Yashi thought he didn't see it and instead said to Old Hu. Okay, let's go to the stone slab you were standing on before and see if there is anything else we haven't found. It just so happens that Xue Liang's research on ghost cave literature is relatively deep, so I'll check for any omissions and fill in the gaps. Then go straight down there. Yashi was referring to the coffin of Queen Jingzhu. Several people discussed it and thought it was okay, so they did it. Because the broken stone slab is really magically hanging in the middle. So netizens watching the live broadcast were very curious about how Yashi and the others were going to get there. As for how Lao Hu got here, according to him, he took a hanging ladder built in the middle. Yashi knew that there was no such thing, so after saying this, Lao Hu was dumbfounded. The fat man was so big that he shrank next to Yashi, looking a little scared. I'm curious, where is the shadow of the red-haired monster we saw before? I thought there was going to be a fight at the time, but I didn't expect it to be so quiet. It's very strange we could clearly see Yeshen's live broadcast. Besides, the drone footage of this live broadcast is so powerful. If the red-haired monster really followed Yeshen and the others, we should have watched it too, but... Stop talking, the more I talk, the more scared I get. We still don't know how Lao Hu got here. After all, we saw with our own eyes that there was no hanging ladder at all. My scalp is numb, please stop talking. If you don't tell me, I won't think of it. Save the child. Horror movie lovers are ecstatic. What they want is this atmosphere, what they want is this weirdness and pleasure. Who said it was exciting before? This excitement is here. How about it? Isn't it a surprise? Yashi currently has two ways to get over, but no one can get over these two methods except him. So he hesitated. But suddenly, Yashi seemed to remember something. No, Lao Hu, you know how to write ghost caves, right? Lao Hu thought that he had walked up a wave of ghost stairs, and nodded with fear on his face. Yashi thought for a while and took out a super searchlight directly from his backpack. System space. It opened suddenly, blinding everyone's eyes, as if they were back in the daytime. Good guy, really good guy, where is our terrifying death atmosphere? Yeshen, do you still want this kind of atmosphere when I am here? It's funny, did you know that I am the most professional anchor? Old yeah, sorry, no matter how big the problem is, it's not a big problem here. Hey, I finally understand. Lao Ye has reincarnated himself into a treasure chest of Jingle Cat in such a big place, everything can be taken out. Yeshen stood on the edge of the stone platform and looked down. The penetrating ability of this light is really strong, but when it encounters a ghost cave, it is still at a disadvantage. The light that can clearly penetrate 100 meters can only penetrate 10 meters here. Yashi looked in the direction that Old Hu was talking about. One by one. A vast emptiness. There is no hanging ladder at all. Lao Hu's whole face wrinkled up, and the others were also frightened. The fat man even picked up the Luoyang shovel and wanted to give it to Lao Hu to see if this man was possessed by some ghost. Old Hu alertly raised his hand to block the Luoyang shovel, and then wanted to kick the fat man down. I finally understand why Lao Ye wants to take these three people together for a live broadcast adventure. I also understand that Lao Hu and the others brought this oil bottle for Mao. This kind of treasure should be carried when going to such a ghost place. It can reduce the psychological pressure. It is so interesting. Ha 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 ha, what a treasure, really. At first I hated this fat guy who kept talking about money, but now I find this guy is so fun. This is my first time seeing such a nimble fat man. Brother, I know I've hit a ghost, can you please stop reminding me? You just listen to me, but what I experienced personally made me really scared. When Lao Hu saw Fatty dodge his attack, he didn't continue. He just said to Yeshi with a wry smile. Yeshi shook his head. I made a mistake. I think too much of them. These people have been dead for 2,000 years. They have neither become immortals nor gods. 2,000 years have been enough to overwhelm mortals. Yeshi threw the super searchlight to Fatty, and then continued. Lao Hu, since you know the ghost cave literature, and you really walked back here without anyone noticing. That means what you said is right. There is indeed a hanging ladder below. Yeshi glanced at the camera, then looked into Lao Hu's eyes. It's just that we can't see it. Author's words. As a newbie, I asked the boss and found out that my bookshelf ratio was wrong. It should be 2:1, not 8:1. But there are still many gifts, more reminders, more updates, rush. Although there are only 2 chapters, I actually wrote 6,000 words. I will continue to update more tomorrow. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Wo Yu Pian Hai. Chapter 37. Can't he see? What does this mean? Yeshen means that sometimes there are blind spots, right? If the hanging ladder really exists but we can't see it, it must have something to do with light and shadow, but I don't understand it. There is obviously no light and no shadow here. Is it because the material used to build the hanging ladder is special? In fact, judging from the field of view of the human eye feels very narrow. For example, human eyes cannot see ultraviolet and infrared rays, but some animals can. A special building material may be able to achieve the effect, Yeshen said. Alegio, in terms of the definition of physics, the spectrum range is very wide, and human eyes can only see a very small part. To put it bluntly, humans are blinder than blind people in the universe. Even if they can see electromagnetic waves, things are only 1/20th of the total mass and energy of the entire universe, and dark matter and dark energy cannot be seen with any wavelength of vision. Although I didn't understand anything, I still thought it was awesome. 1,000 miles away, so you are all speculating on science. Let me guess, I guess this hanging ladder is invisible. Is it possible that this invisible hanging ladder is actually a magic spell, or a magic weapon? After hearing what Yeshi said, netizens in the live broadcast room made their own guesses. Lao Hu and Shui Liang were even more lost in their own thoughts. Only Fatty was wandering around with a super searchlight, looking like he was out of the situation. Lao Hu's guess was pretty much the same as that of netizens, and Shui Liang didn't put forward any very novel ideas. Therefore, the two people looked at each other and exchanged glances. Lao Hu's complexion, which originally felt that he had run into a ghost, suddenly improved a lot. He asked Yeshi. So, I actually walked through a hanging staircase, didn't I bump into a ghost? Shui Liang thought thoughtfully. The hanging ladder does exist, but we can't see it, right? When Yeshi heard this, he glanced at the two people, and then looked up at the camera and the rapidly scrolling barrages. Netizens' guesses were also similar. So he spread his hands. You have misunderstood. I'm just saying that there is indeed a hanging ladder down there. But it doesn't mean that this hanging ladder actually exists. After saying this, he looked at Lao Hu with a smile on his lips. Strictly speaking, it is true that you have seen a ghost. There was an uproar when these words came out. No, why didn't I understand? There is indeed a hanging ladder, but does that mean it really exists? Isn't this a contradiction? Kinli Buluixing, this time I am really puzzled. I am about to challenge my cognitive limit. How did Yeshen say these two completely contradictory sentences? I have a hunch that Lao Ye will bring us unprecedented excitement again. Woohoo! Shocked, let me prepare some quick acting jokes and pills first. Lao Ye, please wait a moment. Good guy, it both exists and doesn't exist, right? It's Schrodinger's hanging ladder. This wave has blocked my already broken logic again. Ever since I watched Lao Ye's live broadcast room, I realized that I am almost like a fool. Yang Xuanhuan, it's very interesting. I guessed a little bit. You said the ghost cave connects to another world, but in fact, the world can be expressed in terms of space. Therefore, the hanging ladder exists, but it does not really exist. I can't see it because it is not in the same space. I don't know if my guess is accurate. Yeshi just took a casual look and unexpectedly spotted the big boss who appeared for the second time. For a moment, he couldn't help but gasp. He really didn't expect that this boss had been diving in his live broadcast room. After looking at the other party's guess, Yeshi nodded, then shook his head and said, "Mr. Yang is indeed a top physicist. Your guess is very close to the truth." Lao Hu looked at the live broadcast room with some curiosity. This was the first time they saw Yeshi treat someone with such respect. Yeshi thought for a while and spread his hands. There was still some corpse-scented konjac powder inside. He pointed down and said, "I said that the ghost cave is connected to another world, and Queen Jingji's eyes are suspected to be connected to the door of this other world. This statement is actually somewhat inaccurate. Actually, strictly speaking, what is connected under the ghost cave may be an imaginary space, and the Queen's eyes are the key to opening the imaginary space." Yeshi paused, allowing everyone to accept the information he said. Then he continued. "There is an imaginary number space, and naturally there is a real number space. This is defined in physics. If you are curious, you can take a look. I have limited knowledge of physics, so I won't explain more. Logically speaking, all of us live in the real number space. Only a very small number of people with special powers like Queen Jingji can access the imaginary number space. But Lao Hu, he got in by chance." After Yeshi said this, he glanced at Lao Hu, waiting for a reaction from the other party. Unexpectedly, when his eyes swept across, everyone looked shocked. Even the barrage in the live broadcast room fell silent. At this moment, thousands of miles away, and even netizens on the other side of the ocean were quietly listening to Yeshi's explanation. Their hearts were surging, but they suppressed their excitement and waited for Yeshi to slowly open the door to another world in front of them. Even if they knew it would not affect Yeshi, everyone held their breath and concentrated for fear of missing something. Seeing that no one paid attention to him, Yeshi smiled helplessly and continued. "So, the hanging ladder that Lao Hu saw over there does not exist in our world, but in the imaginary world. And there are two reasons why Lao Hu can enter the imaginary space. First, we came to the ghost cave, which is very close to another world. Second, the corpse-scented konjac, as a special medium, took Lao Hu to see the non-existent hanging ladder, and really walked over. That means we can walk over in the same way." Yeshi explained the reason and found a way to get to the center of the ghost cave. After finally figuring out the non-existent hanging ladder, everyone was stunned. Some people who were watching the live broadcast at home could not control their distorted expressions at all, and quickly opened the browser to search. So that the search volume of the 4 words imaginary space directly soared by 2000%. As soon as Yeshi finished speaking, netizens began to flood the screen with comments. "Wow, wow, 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 I never thought that there would be such an outrageous thing in this world. Then according to Yeshen, isn't this imaginary space the different dimension in the movie? Ouch. It's a different dimension, so, can I see the giant of light in it? What is professionalism? This is professionalism. Where else can you find such a conscientious anchor? Look at Lao Ye from the first live broadcast to the second live broadcast, which one didn't directly bring the movie into reality? Lao Ye is afraid that we are too receptive, so he directly came up with the concept of imaginary space. I suddenly have a bold idea. Can Lao Ye make a movie about his experience? That would definitely be a unique and top-notch script. It's funny, do we still need to shoot it? Old Yes live broadcast is an epic movie that lasts a long time." Kicking the door frame, "I am convinced, you are really awesome, I admire you, I specially found someone to let me see the bottle brought back from space, it is exactly the same as the one you hold in your hand." Yeshi did not expect that this famous black fan of his who had not seen him for a long time appeared again and was actually submissive. However, he reminded himself of his words. "I almost forgot that there is such a thing as the 5-color altar, I will be troubled when I go out." Then when everyone was excitedly discussing the imaginary space and the other dimension, he took out a transparent bottle of spices from the system space. The extremely gorgeous and flawless spices like gold fell on his eyes, turned invisible, and merged into his eyes. I saw a golden light suddenly flashing in Yeshi's eyes, and then he looked down. At this time, the voice of the system sounded again in his ears. Ding! Congratulations to the host for exploring the map of the ancient city of Jingzhou. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Wo Yi Pian Hai. Chapter 38. Ding! Congratulations to the host. The exploration of the Jingzhou ancient city map has increased by 10%. The overall progress is now 90%. Ding! Congratulations to the host for unlocking the sixth puzzle piece of the Jingzhou ancient city. The reward is the flowing sky stone, the special spices made by the high priest of the Jingzhou kingdom x5 kg, and the Jingzhou ancient city fragment x1. Exquisite ancient city illustration, Linglan ladder, hanging stone. Linglan ladder, the great priest of Jingzhou kingdom arranged a mysterious hanging ladder between the imaginary space and the real space. If you don't walk according to the established method, you will never get out of this hanging ladder. Note, specifically for tomb robbers. There is this hanging ladder. With the help of the ladder, the high priest of Jingzhou kingdom can sleep in the ghost cave, never being disturbed, just waiting to wake up. Flowing sky stone, a gift from the mysterious clan to Queen Jingzhou. It has a very strange power and can make anything float in the air. It is extremely precious. Special spices made by the high priest of Jingzhou kingdom. A long time ago, this was an endless desert, a sacred land of the supreme God, Allah, and the pets of Allah, the true God of the desert, appeared in every corner of the desert, and they fell down to start life. Spice of wisdom. However, after Allah disappeared, the sandworms also disappeared completely. Only the high priest with the ability of prophet used countless manpower to extract this special spice in the desert. After mixing it with the magical power of Queen Jingzhou, the spice had the power of ghosts. There is no ability for ancient gods to communicate within the cave. There was a tinkling sound in Yeshi's ears. The golden light that flashed quickly in his eyes spread out from his pupils, and he saw the Linglan ladder hidden in an inexplicable space. He looked down from the top, but felt that the Linglan ladder below had a sense of disorder. To describe it, it's like a three-dimensional person seeing a four-dimensional space. The rest is really difficult to describe in clear words. At the same time, Yeshi could feel the golden spices scattered in his eyes slowly dispersing, so without hesitation, he directly called the three people to follow him down. There was still a very heated discussion on the barrage, but I didn't expect Yeshi to go down without saying a word. I couldn't help but be surprised. Didn't Yeshen say that if you want to touch this imaginary number space, you need corpse-scented konjac as a medium? Why did it go straight down? I don't understand, but I'm shocked. Could it be that the corpse-scented konjac powder in Lao Ye's hand can still be used? No way. It's true that this flower has been squeezed to the extreme. If you were conscious, you might have to ask, who is the magic flower? We can see Lao Ye jumping again, and now he can continue to jump with three teammates. Great. The other three teammates, do you want this blessing for you? After Yeshi clearly saw the Linglan ladder below, he led three people up the hanging ladder. He asked the other three people to close their eyes and never open them. Then he went ahead and led them. People who can see the Linglan ladder won't think much of this scene, but people who can't see the ladder are really in shock. It was also understood why Yeshikian warned Lao Hu and the others not to open their eyes. If any of these three people really couldn't think about it, they might be frightened to death by the scene in front of them. I saw only 4 living people walking in the void out of thin air, surrounded by nothingness. Except for the light from the super searchlight here, the rest of the place is completely dark. This darkness seems to come from eternity and swallows people's hearts. There is obviously nothingness under their feet, but when their feet fall, It makes people feel like these people have landed on solid ground. Of course, the most important thing is not that people can float around like Apiao. Rather, Yashi's figure does not always appear completely in front of everyone. Yes, Yashi walking on the Linglan staircase out of thin air usually does not reflect a complete person. Either the legs are gone, the hands are gone, or even half of the body is gone. Of course, the most terrifying thing is that the head is missing. When this segment was broadcast live, the sourness of the scene was unimaginable, so much so that those who came in later suspected that they had entered some kind of horror live broadcast room. There were even some people who came here because of the name. They almost fainted on the spot when they saw the headless boy passing by out of thin air. Again, Lao Ye, do you know how close the road between the world and hell is? I just turn on the computer and click on your live broadcast room, so close. We really didn't expect that a good secret exploration live broadcast room could turn into a ghost movie live broadcast room. If I keep reading, I'm going to report to the psychiatry department. This is too scary. Old Ye, why did you die so miserably? Where's your head? It's such a big head. Laughing loudly, you are just relying on Lao Ye that you can't see the live broadcast room now, so you are working hard to arrange it, right? I'm really wondering today why this live broadcast drone can also come in with Yeshen. Just thinking about it, I suddenly realized that JPG, Yeshen's body is actually a live broadcast lens. Yeshen, I remember the ID upstairs. Don't dream tonight, otherwise you will definitely run into the red-haired monster. Isn't it just that Lao Ye's legs are gone, his hands are gone, half of his body is gone, and his head is gone? It's not a big problem. What's all the fuss about? I'll sleep with my mother tonight, please don't disturb me. From the headless leaf god, I appreciate a different kind of beauty. Please look at such a smooth horizontal bevel, such a clean knife technique. I sincerely recommend that you go upstairs to the mental hospital. Oh no, prepare a case at the police station. So will Brother Red Hair come to kill our Yeshen later? I'm looking forward to it instantly. When Yeshi heard the system voice, he knew that this was a safety device specially built for his coffin by the high priest of Jingzhou country. Standing on the stone slab suspended above the center of the ghost cave again, Yeshi's eyes flashed with golden light. He felt an extremely strong attraction, calling him to look down. His eyes had a strong divine power because of the spices, and could even penetrate the ghost cave of nothingness, and then look at the huge corpse of the ancient god in the deepest part. But Yeshi still forcibly resisted his impulse. He quickly used his internal force to spread these magical spices around his eyes all over his body. The soft and indescribable power was scattered in his limbs. Yeshi opened his eyes again. Then he saw the fat man standing in front of him, and the two of them stared at each other. Yeshi was very calm, but Fatty took 2 steps back. Happy, Fatty's move was a failure. What was he thinking? He even dared to bump into my brother Ye and scare me. But old Ye's expression just now was not right. It seemed that he was trying hard not to look down. No way, could it be? Where is our red-haired monster? We have been looking forward to it for so long, but he disappeared again. Hey, isn't this the person who was scared and screamed by the red-haired brother upstairs? How come he is so brave after not seeing him for a few days? Netizens were discussing it. And Old Hu and Swilly Yang had already begun to interpret the contents of the mysterious stone tablet. Both of them were very careful. Because Old Hu didn't bring his equipment before, he just stood close and looked at it for a few times, but now, the two of them have touched it. Brother, this records all the major events that happened in Jingzhou country. After reading it, Swilly Yang's expression was a little heavy. Because combined with the information passed down by her family, it really gave her a heavy blow. Yes, she understood why the other party had such an expression. Because Jingzhou ancient city is a city of death. It has always been like this. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Hai. Chapter 39. It's bad, this is the rhythm of another big thing happening. I see that the expressions of these three people are unusual, only the fat man is still out of the situation. Fatty, who are you scolding? It seems that none of you are in the situation. Shui Liang walked in front of Yeshi, she glanced at Lao Hu, her tone was indescribable. Brother, you said that the kingdom of Jingzhou suddenly disappeared one day, and since then there has been no news of it in history. Before we came here, we speculated based on the known information. We originally thought that a terrible sandstorm blew here 2,000 years ago, so the kingdom of Jingzhou was annihilated. I didn't expect that after following you, this possibility was completely overturned. Shui Liang's expression was very heavy, she continued. But we never thought that the truth behind the disappearance of this western region country was to seek the method of immortality. The queen of Jingzhou and the high priest of Jingzhou offered countless Jingzhou people as sacrifices to the ghost cave. Her words echoed in the empty surroundings, making those who heard it not know how to react. When hearing this truth buried in history, no one could contain their shock. Yeshi already knew this and nodded. Yes, the snake people we saw are the monsters created by these people in order to achieve immortality. Their immortality technique should be related to the genes of snakes, through which snakes shed their skins continuously and survive forever. The envoy from the Tang dynasty obviously also wanted this immortality technique, but unfortunately, because of his identity, his immortality technique was fake. Shui Liang nodded, and hesitated to speak. Finally, Lao Hu asked. Brother, do you know the curse of the ghost cave? Yeshi nodded. I know. The curse of the ghost cave, according to science, is that the iron element in the blood will gradually lose and turn into mud yellow and gradually solidify, and finally die painfully at around 40 years old. No way, how can there be such a bizarre thing in the world? Wait a minute, I remember Shui Liang is also a member of the Ghost Cave tribe, so is there still no way to break this curse with current medical methods? If it could be solved, Shui Liang and the others would not come here. The method of immortality is related to snakes, which is too scary. Even if I die, I definitely don't want to become a snake man. I remember Yeshen emphasized many times that Jingzhou is a country of death. I feel like there is something that has not been said yet. You made me think of a possibility, that is, everyone in Jingzhou is cursed by this ghost cave, no way. Yeshi didn't expect that netizens were just guessing randomly, but they actually guessed it right. So he looked at the camera and nodded. Yes, you are right, the entire Jingzhou kingdom is infected with this curse, and everyone will die around the age of 40. But this is not without reason. Yeshi continued, that is because the high priest of the ancient city of Jingzhou has the ability of a prophet, so he peeked into a mysterious corner. He saw the real Zukin pearl, and then asked people to imitate the real Zukin pearl in an attempt to spy on the ghost cave. Under this behavior, doom is coming, and no one can escape. Old Hu sighed, his expression was complicated, and his tone was indescribable. I really don't know why you know everything, brother, you are really like a god. In fact, the reason why we came here is to find the Zukin pearl to solve the curse on Shui Liang. I didn't expect to meet you, brother, and know so many stories buried under the yellow sand. The fat man was a little confused. So, you haven't said why Jingzhou kingdom disappeared? Shui Liang said it was because of the art of longevity. So all the people in Jingzhou kingdom were turned into snake people to avoid the curse. Thanks to our mouthpiece, Mr. Fatty, for his brilliant appearance. Good question. I was also confused by what Yeshen and the others said, it felt like they were talking about different things. After hearing this question, Yeshi explained. I said that because they peeped into the ghost cave and created a fake Zukin pearl, they were cursed. It was caused by the original people of Jingzhou Kingdom. That was a period after the Shang and Zhou dynasties. Although they were cursed, the jade eyeball could indeed peek into the depths of the ghost cave. And as I mentioned before, during the Tang dynasty, that is, 2000 years ago before, the people of the mysterious clan came, and they brought unimaginable longevity techniques. Therefore, the chief priest of the Jingzhou kingdom during the reign of the queen of Jingzhou sacrificed the people of Jingzhou in exchange for the power from the ghost cave. As for what Xue Liang said, before she came, she thought that the Jingzhou kingdom disappeared because of the sandstorm, which was actually correct. It was just that after the sacrifice to the ghost cave, it triggered the celestial phenomenon, a big storm blew, and the yellow sand completely covered the Jingzhou kingdom. Since then, the ancient history has been completely hidden under the ruins of time. Exploring the world, starting from the discovery of the white bone dragon pond. Author, Xuanhuan Pian Hai. Chapter 40. Before Yeshi told all this, no one could have imagined that the ancient city of Jingzhou actually had such a history. When the ancient history under the yellow sand slowly lifted a corner, not only those ordinary netizens, even experts who studied history in depth, went from being full of doubts to being shocked. The History Research Institute was quiet, but all of them remembered Yeshi's very young and even immature face firmly in their hearts. So, why does he know so much? And this question raised by Professor Cao was also a puzzle for everyone. In addition to exclamation and some discussions on the barrage, the most asked why Yeshi knew so clearly. But Yeshi, of course, said nothing and simply pretended not to see. Is there any kind-hearted Chinese who can tell me what Yeshen said, longevity, really exists? So, a sole question is here, is there any record of what Yeshen said on the stone slab that Laohu and others checked? If my eyes are not blind and I can clearly see the shocked expressions on Xue Liang and others' faces, does it mean that Lao Ye knows everything out of thin air again? Yeshen, everyone knows, if you keep talking, the events of 1998 will be exposed. There is one more unsolved mystery in the world, that is, why does Yeshen know so much? Since he knows so much, why does he come to explore it in person? That is to say, is it possible that old Ye is just lonely and wants to be a fun person? In fact, if you want to know these, you must go deep into the front line of archaeology, tomb robbing. I am afraid that you can't know so much just by doing research. I suddenly have a major discovery, I don't know whether I should talk about it or not. The above person is bold. You want to say that old Ye is actually a tomb robber, right? To say that old Ye is a tomb robber, it doesn't seem like it. Look at how old Hu and the others are sneaking around and subconsciously avoiding the camera, pointing and gesturing. It is more likely that Yeshen has a family background and inherited some extraordinary heritage. What 3-year period has arrived, and the Dragon King has returned? I remember that there are many netizens who are engaged in tomb robbing professionally watching the live broadcast. Can you come out and answer it? No need for tomb robbers to explain. Archaeologists can also tell you that the tomb robbing industry is really inherited, and from the perspective of unorthodox methods, they are all extremely powerful. Those who know, others are not convenient to say, so can Lao Ye answer whether you are a special sect inheritance? Yeshi did not respond to any of these barrages, and let the other party guess. Then several people discussed and decided whether to open the coffin. In the end, Yeshi decided not to open it. Several people prepared to go directly down to the coffin of the Queen of Jingzhou. Before leaving, Yeshi looked at the chief priest of Jingzhou country with confusion, as if he felt something. But after a closer look, he suspected that it was his own illusion, too vague, just a sudden inspiration. However, Yeshi still kept this matter in mind. Strange, what on earth is that red-haired monster? It disappeared inexplicably and appeared inexplicably again. Is it a ghost? The red-haired monster only appeared 3 times, but except for the first time when Yeshi bumped into a shadow, he missed it the other 2 times. Or, to be more precise, Missed it all 3 times. Yeshi always wanted to take a look at this thing head on, but the other party seemed to be deliberately avoiding him. Dispersing these thoughts, several people passed the hanging ladder again and went down the stone wall again. Yeshi took the time to take a look at the live broadcast drone placed at the place where the Queen of Jingju was, and found that everything was still the same as before, without any change. As they went down all the way, they were getting closer and closer to the coffin of the Queen of Jingju and the extremely large corpse-scented konjac. Yeshi directly tied the 3 people together with a rope, and repeatedly warned them that if they felt that the people next to them had turned into monsters, they must not take action, because that would hurt their teammates. However, even though he had warned them many times before, the 3 of them still failed when they encountered the extremely powerful corpse-scented konjac. Yeshi stood on a very narrow stone that was not even a bridge, looking at the chaotic illusions around him, and couldn't help but hold his forehead. I laughed to death. What, King Kong vs Godzilla? If the corpse-scented konjac was used to make a movie, it would definitely become a legendary theater. Suddenly I thought of the long-lost doorframe brother. In fact, I really want to hear his analysis, otherwise the live broadcast room is full of praise for Lao Ye. How boring it is. The idea above has been included in the expedited list, but I really want to see others pick on Lao Ye. You let others take the mine that you dare not take, right? You are really full of bad water. Kick the doorframe, then let me give a sharp review. Compared with this exquisite special effect picture, the 3 actors in it are not satisfactory. And a very important point is that according to the anchor's exploration of the Jingju ancient city, every step he took was just right, as if he knew the destination and went straight to it without taking any detours. Is this possible? Even a 3-year-old child knows it's impossible. Therefore, there is only one truth, and that is that Yeshen is indeed a god. If it is Yeshen, what is there to question about these questions? After all, they are all gods who can send things into space with their bare hands. Qiao Tiandi, you are awesome. You are so flexible and flexible. This is the first time I have seen someone who can lick like this. I gave up my title of licking emperor to brother Menzin. I am Yun Ran. I also noticed that Menzeo said that the 3 actors were not satisfactory, right? The 4th actor who just stood here and did nothing without even mentioning it was right. I didn't expect that. Menzeo, you have such thick eyebrows and big eyes. All have rebelled. I am King Kong, so let Lao Hu and the others continue to fight against their own illusions. This is too immoral. Our brother Ye is known as Blue Star's evil brother, don't you know? Yeshi had a hard time describing the earth-shattering scene in front of him. Well, anyone who sees it will give a thumbs up. After all, it's no exaggeration to say it's King Kong vs Godzilla, but here, the scary big rice dumpling fights the female ghost, as well as all kinds of messy fantasy creatures. Yeshi felt a headache looking at what was in front of him. After thinking about it, he took out a bottle of spices and only touched a little bit on his hand. It can even be described as 1 grain at a time. Then he opened the eyes of the 3 people. Kinli Buluixing, good guy, let me finally catch you. I know how Yeshen could not have a magic weapon, so this is the kind of eye-opening treasure in the novel, right? Cow tears? It's not tears, it's more like a powder, strange, a bit like sand. Is there a possibility, of course, I am talking about possibility, that this is sand? Sand. The identification of the fool upstairs has been completed. I looked at this a million times and still didn't understand what Yeshen was holding in his hand. No, it really looked like sand, golden. Does golden color have to be sand? It could also be daegu. The barrage was chaotic. Yeshi couldn't help but sigh when he realized that he still had to use spices. Then I saw that the 3 people who were dancing were a little embarrassed. Among them, the fat man especially screamed, Lao Hu, little brother, help me. Why am I hanging on a rock? I laughed so hard. I knew Fatty and Lao Hu were in abnormal positions, but I really didn't expect one of them to be hanging in the air. How can I forgive your misfortune, fat man? You are so unlucky that you come to explore and rob tombs, so I can't give you a big reward. Hey, why didn't I see Lao Hu? Where are the others? Look up, a man is moonwalking in the air and fighting a female ghost for 800 rounds. It turns out that only Sydney Yang is normal. Wait, hold, where are the people from Sydney? A live broadcast room with 720 degrees of no blind spots. Logically speaking, there is no angle that cannot be seen. But all netizens read it again and found that the person who spread the spices on the pear poplars just now is gone. Damn it.